Hello, people. Hello, people of my YouTube channel. What's going on? I'm hoping that you will watch at some point. Hi, I'm Chris. That's Los Angeles right there. This is the yacht. At some point, I assume people will be watching this. There's nobody watching at this point, but if for future generations who are watching this, hello. I'm just vamping until we have people here. But I'm glad to do this today. Seems as though maybe I've done something wrong. But just in case, I'll keep talking. All right, well, I see a person, one person. And I see a like, and I don't see comments yet. We got some people coming in now. Hi. We have people. It's nice to see you. Well, it's nice to be seen by you. I hope you're doing well today. Mike says, yay. Peter, who I had lunch with. Was that dinner or lunch? Dinner with. Just back in Massachusetts just about a month ago. Alex says, hey. Michael says, hey. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for coming on in the yacht overlooking glorious Los Angeles. Connor says, happy draft weekend. Hope you find some love. Indeed. We got a good day. We got a hello from... I have my contacts in. Why do I have my contacts in? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't read this that well. So if I mess up your names, Rudd says, hey. Where's the possum? Where's the possum? I got some where's the possums from Sean and a couple other people. Oh, we got some people now. We got people in here now. All right. So I'm going to do this for 90 minutes. I'm here. Hello for the UK. Hello, my man. Woo woo. Hey, Harris. Did I win the free almanac? No. If you were not alerted, the free almanac has already been given out. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for doing this, says Rowdy. Michael says, can't read because you forgot the Felix Grays. No, I have contacts in. Felix Gray needs to make some contacts. Terrence says, are the boomers here? Al says, first draft today. Luke says, hey, Harris. Scott says, hi, sir. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Okay, so we got some questions starting to come, and as per usual, I'll get to what I can get to, and I'll try to go faster this time, because I know it's a pain in the butt for me to watch me, like, warble for 5 minutes about a question. I'll try to go quicker, but I think of this stuff in terms of nuance. I'm bad that way. Let's see. Zachary says, who's more talented between Marlon Mack and Aaron Jones? It's a good question. They're different, and I think I would say they're about equal. They just do different things differently. Mack is more laterally explosive, and Aaron Jones is meaner. Aaron Jones is mean. He's Devontae Freeman level means. I think they're really good, really kind of close, but and neither huge, neither a power back, but I think they're kind of close. Seth says, how do you feel about drafting players way above their ADP, Ingram in the early third when he goes late fourth? You know, sometimes you just got to get your guys. Obviously, I don't love it. I would prefer to kind of judge the market correctly, right? I would prefer to kind of like, oh, cool, I got him at a value. But sometimes if you got to get your guy, I do it. For sure, I do it sometimes. If I'm like, no, in this situation, it calls for Mark Ingram, I will do it. Rudd says, no farts, no whistles. Mason says, your hat's awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. Metaphorically, I tip my chapeau. 401J says, what's up? Jake says, got to slip a dynasty question in. Was offered Diggs for Antonio Brown. What do you think? I do have Diggs. I don't have my almanac ranks right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I have Diggs ahead of Antonio Brown. So I could see doing it. This year I like Brown a little bit more, but I could see doing it. I think it's fair. Mike says, hey from Chicago. Andre says, hello from France. I'm Kenny G. Disciple. Hello, Andre. Edward, Devontae Adams or Julio Jones? I have Julio ranked higher. You can find all the ranks at harrisfootball.com. Let's see. Having a hard time deciding if Diggs or Cook is safer. Diggs or Cooks, sorry. Safer. I don't think there's, in my mind, a huge safety difference between the two of them. So I guess I guess I understand why you're asking that question, because I don't really know. Let's see. I lost track of where I was. Holy cow, there's a lot of questions here. You can see my finger. Okay, found it. Found where I was. Man, YouTube thing won't pause permanently. Mike says, got a big draft today. Thanks for all the insightful videos. Love the channel. Thank you, Mike. Good luck today. Michael says, last round DPPR Dynasty. Hard, I bet, but favorite of your deep sleepers or someone to throw a dart at. You know, I just did a super deep sleeper show with 10 guys. Rodney Anderson was on the list. But really, honestly, if you have time before the draft, I would listen to those two shows, Thursday and Friday. On the podcast, I have 10 names for you to choose from. Chris says, my name is Chris too. Dylan says, has Adam Thielen a reach at 22 overall been pivoting to him over Keenan Allen because of Allen's injury? You know, I tend to think that Allen's thing isn't that big of a thing, but it might be. And if it is, I understand why you do that. Sutton or Sanders, Steven says, I actually moved Sanders ahead of Sutton. They're close to me, but now I have Sanders a little higher. You can find all the ranks at harrisfootball.com. Marlon Mack or Kerryon Johnson, says Ian, and offering them for Miles Sanders. I like Kerryon over Marlon Mack. I do like Kerryon over Miles Sanders as well. Rudd says Mixon or Chubb. I like Mixon. Again, you can find the single position ranks at Harris Football. Mike says, I don't think there's actually a question there. Manny says your hat's awesome. Thank you. David says, if there's no Kareem Hunt, where would you have Chubb ranked? I think first round. You know, first round. That's my big question. I don't really have big questions about talent. Let's see. We got Alex Ezekiel Elliott, 4th pick. I know. That's where I have him right now in PPR. In standard, I have him higher. I think I have him 3. But it's risky as hell, isn't it? Leo says, question about your almanac. Have you updated the overall ranks at the end with each update? I have. Oh, it's not that fun, but I definitely have. Film study all day, every day. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. Yes, says Dragon Franchise. I'm with ya. Bill says, where are you with Mixon? He's a flag player. Love him. Zeke and Gordon, off the board if you drafted today. No, they're on my board. They are still on my board. Mike says, Aaron Jones, Kittle, or Damian Williams in that keeper question. Of that group, I think I have Damian Williams the highest. But Kittle's not a bad keeper. You know, for Dynasty, I might have Kittle highest. Just for this year, I think I have Williams highest. Matthew says, if there's no Kareem Hunt, where would Chubb rank? I answered that one. David Johnson, worth keeping this year, or a chance of seeing what else is available round 1? I mean, it's hard for me to say because you know your league better than I do, but you know, I'm going to have him rated as a first-round pick towards the end there. If you're nervous, I don't mind sending him back though. Let's see. Luke says, do you ever minimize risk if you're in multiple leagues and avoid taking the same players, particularly first and second rounders? I don't tend to think that way, but I have to admit, I don't. Also, just the way it works out, I don't often wind up with the same guys. But sometimes I guess some years you might, you know, and so I don't tend to think that way. Chris says, keep Carson 4th round, Aaron Jones 5th round. I'd say Aaron Jones. It leaves me scratching my head a little bit too, but I like Jones more than I like Carson. Jesse says, how much does Zeke Elliott go for tomorrow in a half-point $200 auction? I mean, all auctions are different, but I would say 40s, 50s, because someone's going to take that chance. Thoughts on Nick Chubb? How high would you draft him? I would draft him, you know, 2nd round, which means I'm probably not going to get him. That is for sure. Do I like Darius Geis, says the Sportable. I do. I own him in a few Dynasty situations. I like him fine. All right, so I don't think there's a great way for me to pause this permanently, but I wanted to mention, first of all, can we get a like for this? Can everybody who's watching this like this? I would appreciate that. And then also, can I please mention that, so you know I have this almanac thing, right? And if you've gotten the almanac, I really appreciate it. If you haven't gotten the almanac, then get the almanac. You know, if you're drafting today, it might be too late, right? It might be too late to get the almanac. But if you're drafting, say, like next weekend, DraftKings, who's sponsoring this thing today, has a great way for you to get it for $5. Normally it's $17. If you've never had a DraftKings account, what you have to do is click the link that will that's on. It's not below right now because this is live. But at some point, if you go to any DraftKings sponsored video over the course in my channel. There's a link that takes you over to DraftKings. Start a brand new account, deposit $5. Within 24 hours, they will send you an almanac. Plus, then you can play DraftKings, which is fun. And I play DraftKings with all my listeners on the podcast every week. So if you're looking for a way to get the almanac, but $17, you're like, ooh, that's too much, you can get it for $5 by starting a brand new account at DraftKings. Again, the link isn't in this live stream, but if you go to any live stream, And if you go to any YouTube show that's been sponsored by DraftKings, you'll see the link. It's plastered all over the place. All right, DraftKings sponsoring. Thank you. Good. Carry On Johnson. Somebody just posted that. The Carry On Johnson one is sponsored by DraftKings. So if you go to the Carry On Johnson one from yesterday, I think the one on Wednesday was sponsored by DraftKings. Any of those, click the link. Go get the almanac for $5. Pretty funny. You'll enjoy it. All right. So here's the deal. It's very difficult for me to get the comments to pause on the YouTube app on the phone. It just sucks. I have to keep my arm up the whole time. By the way, got the guns going. The gun show. So I'm gonna miss your questions. I'm not gonna be able to go in order. So if a reasonable amount of time's gone by and you haven't heard your answer, just type it in again. I'm sorry about that. So I got like 266 people watching this, 268 people watching this, and 91 likes. That just feels wrong to me. Why are you watching if you don't like it? I'm here for you. Let's everybody please right now like it. Go like it. Let's do it. So we're up to 97 now. But yes, let's get. There's 107. All right, let's keep going. 115. Okay. Keep going. 123. Getting there. Got 276 watching. Hit that like button. 132. I'll start talking about football again in a second. We get to 200 likes. I will start talking about football again. That is so lame. I'm such a millennial. No, I'm such a I'm such a Gen Zer. 149. We're getting there. 154. We're really getting there. Oh, I love it. I hit it twice, says Sean. No good. I like it. 159. I'm going to be here for like another hour and 15 minutes, so I'm going to get to your questions. 163, no like button on the app. Smash that like button, says Elliot. Indeed, smash that like button. Fortunately, I don't have to re-record that every time. 170, we're getting there. I want to get to 200. 200, and we are good to go. 171, that was not a fast update. Can't see the like button on the iPhone. I know it's possible that I'm so out of touch with technology. I'm such a boomer, even though I'm not a boomer. But I'm such a boomer that people are like, dude, I can't freaking like this thing. Punch the like button in the face. Cola Nut says, yeah, no like button here, but I do like it. 179. Yeah, I can't find the like on the iPhone. I'm trying. Smash. 183. Oh man, I feel like we're gonna do this. I feel like we're gonna get there. This is the best. Can't find it on the iPhone. 185. No like button, says Rudd. Damn it. Feed this man, says Senor Meow. By the way, Senor Meow, pretty great username. Full throttle the like button. 196 and 196 and come on, we gotta do it now. Now it's just a matter of principle. 198. Oh, if you close the chat, you'll see the like button. 200, we made it, we did it. 200. All right, let's get to your football questions. Sorry for being such a weasel. Fabian says, is Sammy Watkins worth a 5th round pick? It probably isn't. I mean, you can see my ranks at harrisfootball.com, Fabian. Probably is not how I have him ranked. I get the upside. I just feel like the downside is, oh, my foot exploded. It's tough. Man, it's tough for me to draft Sammy Watkins to be a fantasy starter. When there was no Tyreek Hill, maybe I was thinking about it, but not now. I like turtles, someone just said. Who the hell gave the thumbs down? Says Benjamin. I know. Well, maybe they felt held hostage. They felt held hostage by me, and they were like, screw you, I'm out of here, thumbs down. Mark says Damian Williams or Aaron Jones. I have Damian Williams ranked higher. Damian Williams, a lot could go wrong, but it feels like stuff could go, Aaron Jones could go wrong too. You can find single position ranks at harrisfootball.com. Anybody who's asking single position ranks, I don't mind talking about them at all, but if you just want to see where I have them relative to each other, check that out. Let's see. Mohammed says Dante Pettis prediction. Yeah, I'm pretty in the tank for Dante Pettis. Not a big stat projection guy, but certainly I think 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. I think that's fair for where I have him ranked. Maybe 900 yards. I like Dante Pettis quite a bit. I think he gets open. Boomers are unliking, Terrence said. I know, all the boomer fans. Julio or Odell, says Matthew. I like Julio, but if you said Odell, it's not terrible. Again, you can check out Harris Football for the ranks. Jose says, when is your next meet and greet? Well, come to San Diego, Stone Brewery. I'm going to do an LA meetup again. I'll do another LA meetup during the season. Very tough for me to get to San Diego during the season, do a meetup. But come up to LA when I do one. I'll announce it. Come up to LA. Steven says, D.D. Westbrook and Marvin Jones, are their ADPs too low? It hasn't struck me as like a miscarriage of justice. D.D., so this past week, holy cow, did I go on a lot of shows. I got asked to do a million podcasts. I was on like that telethon for CBS, which was great. I was on a couple of live streams, and I got asked about D.D. a bunch. And it seems like now he's a buzz name. And it's too bad, because I think anybody who knows my body of work knows that I've liked D.D. for a long time. It's tough for me to say I'm positive D.D. Westbrook is more than, like bad Jarvis Landry in the Miami days, which was always fine to own, but it was always like, cool, you're wide receiver 31 or you're wide receiver 28. And without that kind of like weekly upside, it's tough for me to say it's a gross miscarriage of justice. And Marvin Jones is just sort of a limited player. I think Marvin Jones is going to get 7 touchdowns, and he's going to look awesome half his games, and the other half is going to disappear. So I think it's probably fair, those guys. Lou says, pick 2 keepers, PPR, Barkley in round 1, Aaron Jones round 10, Galladay round 9, no third round pick, so I won't get Galladay if I keep him. I don't get what that means, but you got to keep Barkley. Keeping Barkley I just think Barkley is so unbelievable. And if I'm picking between Jones and Galladay, it's very close. It's fine if you want to go Jones, completely fine, because the position is just a lot more scarce. Let's see, Brian says, you really like Ingram more than Devontae Freeman and Damian Williams? I do. I think they're all sort of in the same group, but I do. Trying not to overly crutch myself Ingram-wise with situation. Like, proof that I'm not is that last year I didn't like Alex Collins, and it looked like an awfully good situation, and because I didn't think Alex Collins was good enough to take advantage of that situation. I think Ingram is. He is a limited player, but the things that he does really well, which is like be a nasty power runner and catch it occasionally, feels like it fits, and I think he's good enough to take advantage. So I get it. I'm a little out of step on Ingram. That's why he's a flag player this year. Ross says, where's cousin Josh? Well, he's about 3,000 miles away, because I'm in glorious downtown Los Angeles. That's actually LA. That's not like a backdrop. That's LA. You want to see out my window? Who wants to see out my window? The yacht window, I mean. It's a yacht window. Here we go. Turning. That's the building across the street. Over there you can see the Staples Center. There's the Staples Center over there. Pretty cool. Skyscrapers and stuff. Right? Pretty cool. So I set you up. I pulled the blinds down so it wouldn't glare me, right? It wouldn't glare me. Get it? Also, where's the possum, right? Where are you willing to take Mahomes? Says TJ. I'm not going to get Mahomes. I think, I can't remember exactly where he wound up in this most recent update, so why don't I just check it out myself on the ranks? Because I don't have the ranks memorized either. Yeah, it's a land yacht. Hey, stay focused, Juan says. Lindsay, hello from across town in LA. Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay, come to a meetup. You've been following me a long time. Where would I take him? Mahomes, in a standard league, I have him 37. In a PPR, I have him 41. I'm not going to get him there, right? That's not going to happen. How do you feel about Lockett, says ABC Panda Bear. I feel like he's a top 25 receiver for sure. I think he has lots of weekly upside. There'll probably a little bit of a bumpy ride, but not terrible. I think he's a very good player. I've liked him a long time, and last year I was finally right, but I don't think I get to claim that I was right. Let's see. I can't read that. How many leagues are you typically in? So I have a lot of leagues I have to play out this year. It stinks. But the ones I really care about, it's like 3 or 4. I only really care about like 3 or 4. I'll submit lineups for all the rest of them. Let's see. Rushi says, I like the upside of Amari Cooper, but don't like the inconsistency. What should I do in the 3rd round? Yeah, I agree with you. That's the problem with Amari Cooper, right? He is like a personally inconsistent human. You can see my ranks and where I have him ranked. I do have him as a 3rd round pick. I think he's probably fairly ranked as a 3rd round pick, but you're right. If you just don't want to sign up for that, there's plenty of other receivers in that range. The Vikings receivers should be in that range. Some of the Rams receivers should be in that range. I'm okay with that. Lucas says land yacht. The Amazon is on fire, says Inc. I'm sorry about that. Jared says 10-team standard. James Conner or Damian Williams can be my 10th round keeper pick. Who would you choose? Probably Conner. I would probably, in that case, pick Conner. Jeff says, hello from Arizona. Darwin Thompson, is he worth the hype? To some degree, Darwin Thompson is like the perfect distillation of what's wrong with what we do for a living. Does anybody who's, like all the other podcasts and all the other Twitter personalities and stuff, all the people who are losing their adjectival minds over Darwin Thompson. Have they ever seen him play? Has anybody ever seen him play? Like, the people in training camp are getting to see a little bit, but it's like a total blank slate. My real answer is I don't know. Of course, there's 100% a chance that Darwin Thompson is fantastic, amazing, wonderful. Isn't there a chance that he's just sort of a guy too? So I've hyped him for sure, but is he worth the hype to where people are saying, oh, take him in the 5th round? I would not do that. Do you think Tebow is a solid pick in the 6th round? Yes. How much do you think Matt Patricia? How much does Matt Patricia suck? Oh, I think he's all right. Roddy says, what are your thoughts on AJ Green? So he's a tough guy to rank because we really don't know. I mean, he's probably not fairly ranked, right? Where I've got him ranked is like where I would take him, but probably no indication at all of where he'll finish. If he comes back fine and misses no games or 1 game or whatever, I mean, he's a wide receiver 12 or something. But if he is AJ Green from last year, it's going to be a disaster. So very difficult guy to know what to do to rank. You have to be risk embracing to take AJ Green for sure. Anthony says, can you share some thoughts on Vance McDonald? Is he fair value? You know, I've warmed a little bit to Vance McDonald since I wrote the original Almanac. He's up in like low level tight end number 1 area for me for fantasy. He doesn't catch it very well. My big problem is he was okay last year, but in his career with the 49ers, the first year with the Steelers, yeah, I mean, I like guys who can catch the ball. I like like not duck hands. And that's my worry. My worry is how long can you potentially have it ricochet off you until this team goes, all right, this is the Kobe Fleener thing. Kobe Fleener, that year he signed with the Saints, was going to be amazing, and then they realized he couldn't catch. And he got concussions, but I think he was on the outs before he got hurt. So that's my worry. My worry with Vance McDonald is he could fall on the outs, but it looks like a good role. He himself is a physical athlete. He's been a great athlete his whole career. He has never busted out to this point, but yeah. Please compare Ertz and Kittle, says Grant. So Ertz is probably a slightly more polished version of Kittle, and Kittle is probably a faster version of Ertz, but they're both, Ertz is a fantastic route runner. He is one of the better route runners, really, in the league, period. If I was going to do a tight end route runner, he might be number 1, a video for that. I am very pro, obviously, Kittle, because he was like my guy last summer. I never thought it would break out like that, but he is really just a wide receiver. He's not even really, there's no pretense. He just runs routes. He's very fast down the field. Ertz, probably not quite as fast, but an incredible route runner for sure. Let's see. Ray says, do you recommend Carson Wentz and Big Ben for his backup? I'm okay with that for sure. I mean, my thing about quarterback, the thing I would want to impart to everybody about quarterback is just wait on quarterback. If those are the 2 guys who you wind up with after you wait on quarterback, I'm fine. But if instead it's Cousins and Garoppolo, that can work. Maybe not as well, but I like it fine. Or you get Brady and Breeze, or Breeze and Brady. I just want to wait. Let it come to you. Russell Wilson is the only guy, given where he tends to go in drafts, where I'll take a chance on him. Thoughts on Evan Ingram, says Jason. My thoughts are, hasn't really put it together yet to the point that everybody seems to trust him this year, and I think most of that trust comes down to situation. People looking at the Giants and saying, no Odell Beckham, I bet there's a lot of targets there. That is an argument that always scares me. That, to me, is the Alex Collins argument, the Royce Freeman argument, the Rashad Penny argument. You can get burned assuming there's no one else. The player himself has got to be good. Evan Ingram hasn't really been good yet, but he's also heading into that space in his career where maybe things are coming together. What an athlete. He's up there as one of the fastest tight ends in the league. I'm lower on him ADP-wise than most people. I actually have Hunter Henry above him and David Njoku ahead of him, although Njoku and Ingram to me are interchangeable, but Ingram just goes way ahead of Njoku, so I've wound up with Njoku a lot in drafts. Michael says, with Thielen and Diggs being so close, who do you find yourself getting more and why? Is it floor versus upside? I find myself getting Diggs more only because he goes around later. So the spot where I would have to take Thielen, and where I'm willing to take Thielen, it feels like it's never quite worked out, and then I go, oh, cool, I can get Diggs around later anyway. So I wind up with Diggs a lot, but I like them equally. Just one of them, weirdly, is going for way more, well, not way more, but a round's more worth of value. That's why I wind up with Diggs more. Scott says, which rookie running back is a must-own this year? Jacobs, Montgomery, or Sanders? There's no, for me, philosophically, I would just announce this to everybody. There's no such thing as a must-own. There's never a case where I say I have to have that guy or I can't have a fantasy team. I think that's a bad way to approach it, but that's not really what you're saying. I'm just, that you phrased it a certain way. I just want to make sure I made that clear. And then I'll say I have Jacobs rated highest of the group, but of course he's also going for the most in drafts. So value-wise, I think they're probably all pretty close. I think Montgomery is starting to heat up a little bit. Maybe I think Miles Sanders is the best value. But also, I probably like him the least of the three. So it makes sense that he would go the lowest. He's just going a little lower than the other guys. So if the cost was the same, I prefer Jacobs. At the respective values, maybe I prefer Sanders. I've had some drafts expert drafts, where Sanders has fallen really far, and I get him not as a fantasy starter. If I get him in the 7th round or something, which is really late, I'm really happy. Alpha says, if I don't have Nick Chubb on my team, I don't want a team. I like it. Not the philosophy we should have. Henry says Kamara or McCaffrey. I will take Kamara every time. Alex says, how much college football do you watch on a given Saturday? You know, it depends on the Saturday. If I have plans, I never feel like I shouldn't do something to watch college football, just because Saturdays really in the season is the only day I have off, even vaguely off. I do some radio hits and stuff, but and maybe we'll do some YouTube stuff on Saturdays too, but this year. But typically, if like I wind up making plans, I don't feel like I need to cancel them to watch college football. But I'll watch some. I doubt I'll watch Florida, Miami today. I'm just not that interested in the teams, and I do have plans. I'm going out to Venice to hang out with some friends, so probably won't watch today. Let's see. Michael says, is McCaffrey, Thielen, and Michelle too much for Saquon, Brown, and James White? Barf. No, I think it's probably fair. Some stars there. I'm okay with it. I like buying low on Brown. Michael says, should I accept a trade consisting of Elliott and Pollard for David Johnson and Deshaun? No, I don't think I'd do that. I think I like the side that has Deshaun in that, because you're getting one guy essentially, right? Sean says, doesn't Juju have a pretty big chance to underperform? He sucked against man in press coverage, saw single teams all year. Now as a one outside of the slot, for how successful? Listen, you've got a point. I did a whole video. If you check, the channel has a Juju Smith-Schuster video. You've got a point. I mean, it could go badly, but I think he himself is sort of a Hines Ward Jr. kind of player, kind of just a gamer, a baller, finds a way to get it done. And defenses probably won't feel obliged to go safety help over the top against him the way they did against Brown. They'll do it some, they probably won't do it every single play, you know, or they die the way they did with Brown. So I have some confidence in Smith-Schuster. His ADP could it be a little bit high? It could be. And if you're just not feeling it, I get it. Don't draft him. Why does Stadium get hotter after the game? Because all the fans leave. Says Joshua. Nice job. Did I just change? Hold on. Let me make sure. Are you guys still getting this? You're behind me. I did something wrong. I'm just going to assume it's still working. If it's not, you'll have to let me know. It seems like everything got a little dimmer there for a second. That might be impending death. It's possible. Drew says... where'd you go? Drew says, Kamara, Mike Evans, Thielen, Woods, Ingram. A good core of receivers and running backs. Yeah. A lot of those guys are my guys, for sure. Okay, it is still working. Good. TJ says, love your work as well. One of my favorite fantasy football analysts and podcast hosts. Thanks, TJ. James says, running back or wide receiver in the flex, pull point per reception. If a running back, which would you prefer? So I'm never going to give you a positional strategy. My entire basis of the way I evaluate this stuff is 100% about which players are we talking about in particular. So I would never say, oh, you got to make sure in a full PPR, you got to have a wide receiver because he's going to have more catches. The reason I wouldn't say that is because the market knows that, and therefore wide receivers are already being valued a little bit more, so they're going to be worse wide receivers available by the time you're ready to pick your flex. So for me, it's all about putting together your board in the order that you put them together and stick to your board. If you have a running back ahead of the wide receiver, you just like him better, take the running back, and then vice versa for the wide receiver. And if you want to use my ranks as a starting point for your board, but you can rejigger because you go, Harris is crazy on that guy, then do that, because Harris Football Almanac, you can find my ranks. BA says, you did a video about good route runners. How does good route running translate to fantasy points? Well, it's a good question. What it says to me is that the player more drives the bus than is a passenger, that he doesn't need the quarterback to be amazing on every single play, to be open, to make plays, that he doesn't, that he can't be taken out as easily if he's on a hot streak, that he's basically a more safe producer because he doesn't have to be schemed open the way some receivers have to be schemed open. That week by week, he's likely to be more consistent because coaches watch film too, and they'll know that he's more open. I want talent. I mean, this is kind of the basis of my career here, is that I want players who are good, because players who are bad or mediocre who produce points, it's fool's gold. It's Mitch Trubisky from a few weeks from last year. It's Alex Collins at the end of 2 years ago. People will tell you, you need to draft, some Tampa Bay receiver, Chris Godwin, who I think is fine, but I'm lower on in the market because Tampa Bay is always going to be from behind and they're going to throw a lot, and Bruce Arians likes slot receivers. And my point is not that Chris Godwin is bad, I think he's good, but I probably think he's miscast as an amazing player. And so I go, what I want are the good players, because over time, talent wins. You can, in a given week, you can get a lot of points because someone scores 3 touchdowns, but over time, talent wins. That's my reason for accentuating that in wide receivers. Let's see. Hi from Wyoming says, Che, should I start Aaron Jones or the Wizinator week 1? I don't have week 1 ranks for you just yet. My guess is I'm going to say the Wizinator, Kerryon Johnson, just because I like him more, but I haven't looked at matchups or anything like that. Let's see. Why is everyone so low on LaShawn McCoy, says Joel? Isn't he the most likely starter? Also, the offensive line could be better, according to the O-line podcast you had. Yeah, I mean, I think right now his rank is probably somewhat leavened by the fact that people suspect he still might get cut. He has a very waivable contract, salary cap-wise, and if they were to, I have no idea if they will, but just if you look at the numbers of the contracts, if they were to decide they could get by without him, they could save a lot of money. So that is probably part of what's weighing it down. And then also, there are some people who hate Devin Singletary, people who like combine metrics hate him, but I kind of like him. I don't think he's LaShawn McCoy, but I think he's like Deion Lewis, so he could be a part of the picture, and people, as the season goes along, people worry about that. And then McCoy himself, sure, he had a couple of nice runs in a preseason game last night, but he had good runs on film last year. He wore down. He's not the same guy. The quickness is good, but it's not as good as it was. Like, I think it's acceptable to be a little bit low on LaShawn McCoy and just feel like, you're right. I wouldn't want to say the situation is without hope. If people's reasons to not like him are Buffalo is bad, I think that's a bad reason, because we don't know if Buffalo's bad. We don't know if teams' offenses will wind up being better than we expect. More so for me, it's like a player who slowed down last year, definitely at the end of his career, could get cut, has other options in the backfield, feels like I don't need to be investing big in that. Let's see. In the year we fight love, I love Diggs and Thielen at their ADP at 37 and 39. In film review, what explains Diggs' very sporadic output? I love, but Diggs both, but Diggs seem to suffer. I mean, here's the thing. Can't you say Thielen had sporadic output after the second half of the year? Thielen wasn't as good as Diggs in the second half of the year last year. So I think we remember Thielen's insane start, and it was insane, and it was great. And all the narratives that were written at the time were, well, don't you understand, this is what Kirk Cousins wants. He wants a slot guy, a big guy, just amazing chemistry. And then, of course, second half of the year, suddenly he had better chemistry with Diggs, and Diggs was outproducing him and outscoring him and yada, yada, yada. So I'm not sure I agree with the premise of the question. Diggs did have a rib injury that cost him a game last year. He's an outside receiver, and he's probably more of a big play receiver. And sometimes you are supposedly trading off consistency for high upside. It just so happened that out of the slot last year, Thielen was so good that he didn't have to trade off anything. He was a slot receiver who went bananas, and I think he could again. But I think that sort of is the difference between them. Let's see. Jacob says, am I screwed if Damian Williams and Miles Sanders are my running backs? I mean, you're not screwed. Damian Williams could wind up being awesome. You're right? If he's Kareem Hunt, if he's going to get the ball a ton, awesome. Like, we don't really know. I don't care what anybody says. We don't know what's going to happen. And plus, I assume you have awesome wide receivers, right? You're not screwed because you're going to get a lot of points from your wide receivers. Let's see. Let me, what time are we at? Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to be here for another hour. This is another hour. Wow, can I get a like for everybody who hasn't liked yet? Can I get likes for the fact that I'm going to be here for another hour? This is a marathon in honor of your drafts. A marathon! I'm going to have a drink of water. It is water. Yeah, Philip says, please, 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 smash that like button. Indeed. Okay, Drew says, in the year we fight love, I'm going to an open bar wedding. Beer versus wine versus gin. Does it have to be gin? I'll take, like, whiskey, like a whiskey drink. I like an old-fashioned or two. That would be nice. I'd say old-fashioned. The year we fight dehydration. Indeed. I thought it. Philip says, any draft values that you're seeing with the market shifting in this last 2 weeks of drafting, aside from your flag players and the joke with Mike Williams, etc.? I mean, that's really the answer. My general tendency is to say, anyone who is soaring up draft boards right now, I want to fade. Unless they're guys I've just loved and I felt like the market was super wrong on, but I can't think of anybody like that just now. I think our competitive advantage as sentient creatures, as thinkers, as opposed to people who just read box scores or training camp reports or whatever, our advantage is being able to counter program against narratives. So I have a tendency to want to fade somebody like Chris Carson screaming up draft boards now. I'm fading the hell out of that. What changed? Nothing changed. Nothing's changed. I don't care what they said in Seattle. Nothing's changed, right? And whatever you thought about them this summer, you should still think about them. Chris Carson's coming off knee surgery. Does nobody realize this? He's fine right now, but like, we're really mad at Todd Gurley. We're really mad at him. Super mad at him. So yeah, I'd say if anything, the thing that changes for me now is I want to fade all the positive narratives. Joe says, assuming the top 4 running backs go, would you take Hopkins or Le'Veon at 5? My answer for you is that I actually have Gurley ahead of him, but I'm okay with waiting on Gurley. Now, he's kind of coming to the end of the first round now, so you might not get him in the second. I would love to get Gurley in the second, right? Bell is fine. In a PPR, I'd probably go wide receiver, but in a standard, Bell is fine. Big fan from Calgary, says Mohammed. Hello, what's up, Calgary? Calgary. James says, what's your take on Mark Ingram in Baltimore? A lot of catches. Well, I have a video that you could watch that's about flag players, because he's a flag player of mine this year. He could. I really don't know. I don't tend to presuppose I know game plans. It's possible that Mark Ingram can catch it, but it's possible. I mean, he could catch it last year with New Orleans, but Kamara could catch it better. They might decide Justice Hill can catch it better. So I don't really know how it works out, but I do like Ingram a lot. Al says, how many quarterbacks go off the board before you take one? It depends on when they go off the board, to be honest. If it's a 12-team league where everybody starts one quarterback, I'll take Russell Wilson in the whatever-eth, right? If people have gone crazy but just left Russell Wilson alone, once it gets to Russell Wilson on my board, I'll take him. But if he's gone too, I think what you're really asking is, like, how bad does it have to get before you break down and start taking quarterbacks? So everybody in the league acts irrationally, and everybody is taking a second quarterback, and you don't even have your first quarterback yet. Harris, what are you going to do? When are you going to take him? I'm flailing my arms around. I'm very passionate. And I say, if you get to Trubisky, I'm like, oof, I waited too long, probably, right? But there are 15, 16, 17 guys I'm probably just fine with. Let's see. Peter says, any concern on drafting Damian Williams if you can't grab Darwin? It depends on when you can get Darwin, right? I don't want to draft Darwin Thompson as a starter. If I have to take him in the 5th or 6th round, I'm not going to do it. And I'll still take Damian Williams if the value is right. I'm a little lower on Williams than the market, as it turns out. But I'm not gonna take Damian Williams in the 2nd, which I'm not going to probably do anyway. He's more a 3rd for me, but I'm not going to take Williams in the 2nd and then spend a 5th on Darwin Thompson. It's too much. It's if it's Darwin Thompson in the 9th, then yeah, I'll do it, and I'll make sure I reach around or whatever. Reach a round. So yeah, I think I don't feel obliged, but it makes you feel better for sure. let's see, what is your strategy for Superflex? Well, it's just different ranks, right? Everything I just said about waiting on quarterbacks goes out the window. I'm still probably not taking a quarterback in the first round. For me, Mahomes is the second round, which I'm not going to get him in most leagues. For me, like Rodgers and Watson is like the third round. And then I have several guys in the fourth, and then a bunch more guys in the fifth. And I have, in my top 100 Superflex ranks, by the way, my Superflex ranks are in the Almanac. That's the only place where they are. It's like Dynasty ranks and Superflex ranks are the only thing I hide in the Almanac and don't put on the website. So if you really want to see my Superflex ranks, they're in the Almanac. But in my top 100, I have, 20 quarterbacks because you have to, right? That's the time when you're not waiting. Let's see. How high do you reach for Justin Jackson as a non-Gordon owner? Says Michael. Not very high. You can see my ranks at harrisfootball.com. You can see where I have him ranked. I don't have him. I have him not in my top 100. I have Eckler in my top 100, but not Justin Jackson. Let's see. Harris never does the reach around. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Can I get a like for that? Can I get a like for making fun of myself? Because I do that. I am one of the most snotty people you've ever met, but I make fun of myself too. All right, so we've got 312 likes, but we've got 464 people watching the video right now. Let's get up to 350 likes, and then I'll keep answering questions. How's that? 350 more likes, not more, 350 total likes out of the 460 people now who are watching this. And then boom, I'm back at it again for another 45 minutes. At 331, we're at 331 right now. We're at 336 right now. I love it. I love it. Michael says, can confirm, Harris is snotty. I'm so arrogant. That's a fun one on Twitter. I used to listen to Harris, but he's just so arrogant. Okay. It feels like I'm the most self-deprecating person I've ever met, but whatever. Okay, we're up to 360 on the likes. Yeah, man, cool. Who wouldn't you draft between Antonio Brown, Amari Cooper, or T.Y. Hilton? I mean, there's never going to be someone I don't reach around to that like button, says Jacob. There's nobody who I won't draft. It depends on the price. But you're saying it's at their price. I certainly want Brown. I think at that price, I think all of them are probably okay. Hilton is the one. There's some downward pressure on Hilton because of Andrew Luck, but that's valid downward pressure. Like, there is a little bit of downward pressure. In the last version of the Almanac, I lowered Hilton a couple of spots because we don't know anything about Andrew Luck. It's legitimately concerning, So I think probably all of them are fair. Maybe Hilton's the one that's a little bit scared. Michael says, my favorite line on the podcast was when you first quoted the early draft of the Almanac and said, I'm quoting myself, which is the most arrogant thing, but isn't that on brand for me? See that? But the thing is it really arrogant? I do it as a defense mechanism. Should we have like a little therapy session here right now about the kinds of things that we say in order to protect ourselves from harm? I say that, but is it really arrogant? I wrote this thing that I think is funny. I could just say, here's the thing that I wrote that I think is funny. I'm going to read it out loud, but instead I have to protect myself by saying, I'm being really arrogant by reading you something I think you'll enjoy. That's lame. I think I'm probably self-deprecating to a fault, I would say. I don't see the Superflex, but I do see 2 quarterback at the end of Almanac. Yeah, that's true. I call it 2 quarterback in the Almanac. That is Superflex. Superflex essentially is a 2 quarterback league. It just means that you don't have to start a quarterback, so you don't need to own 5 of them to account for bye weeks, right? That's why we do Superflex. They used to be 2 quarterback leagues. Everybody got frustrated that they had to own 3 or 4 quarterbacks in a given season, and that some people couldn't get one off the waiver wire to start when their guy was on bye. So we changed it to Superflex, where people could just put a running back in there the one week you don't have the 2 quarterbacks. That's the only difference. Can we get some S's in the chat for snotty, says TJ. Okay. Trade question. If I could get Antonio Brown and Chris Carson for Kerryon and Miles Sanders, should I do it? I think it's probably a fair deal both ways because I think Antonio Brown is being undervalued. If you're getting Antonio Brown in the 3rd round, I'm super excited about that. But it doesn't feel like such a ripoff that you have to do it unless you're really worried about your wide receivers, I guess I'd say. Because Kerryon's going to be awfully good, I think. I did that video on Kerryon yesterday, or 2 days ago. I think he's going to be very good. Yeah, so I guess I don't feel compelled to do it. Keeper question, says Sheridan. Choose Dalvin Cook in the 4th, George Kittle 5th. Already have Beckham and Chubb. I mean, probably the best value move there based on my board is probably Cook because it's the scarcer position. But I'm not outraged if you want to keep Kittle, especially because in a dynasty type situation, you have to factor in the extra risk of Cook being hurt in the future, whereas Kittle probably has a longer career. So if you pick Kittle, I'm cool with that. Let's see. Who is this year's Kamara or Kittle call? Do I have one? I don't really think I have one. I mean, anybody watching right now, do you perceive that I've made a call on someone kind of coming out of nowhere and falling in love? Like, I wasn't able to really find a tight end. It feels like Dallas Goedert was the tight end, but I can't recommend him because he's not the starter on his own team. I don't know that I feel like I have somebody who I feel super passionate. You know, I'm more finding draft value in, you know, Deion Lewis and Nyheim Hines. Maybe Nyheim Hines, I don't know. Dante Pettis, Jason says, yeah, I guess so. Except for, it doesn't feel like my ADP on Dante Pettis is so, or my rank is so far away from ADP the way they were on Kamara and certainly Kittle. I was way out of line on Kittle. You know, the ones who feel like super out of line are Deion Lewis and Nyheim Hines. And even I'm not like, yeah, Nyheim Hines, you're going to be Alvin Kamara someday. You're going to grow up to be Alvin Kamara. Like, I don't think so. He's probably an accessory. I just think he's being way undervalued. So it feels like I don't really have great equivalents this year. But maybe other people think that I do, and maybe I'm just not thinking of it. Let me take a second to mention the DraftKings promotion again. I'm supposed to do this, so just bear with me. Deal with it. You can say snarky things about having DraftKings come up in the middle of this, but we love DraftKings. They're a really great sponsor of the show. And they are sponsoring us right now. This thing is happening because of DraftKings. And so the deal is basically a really great promotion. The Almanac thing that I keep talking about is the Almanac's $17, right? You got to send $17 to get the Almanac, unless you want it for $5. $5 is less than 17. The way you do that is if you've never had a DraftKings account before, go to any of the videos on this channel that are sponsored by DraftKings, and if you're watching this after it's live, that link will be posted under, in other words, we'll put it in after I'm done. And you will get, I should have put it in the title. I'm thinking now, I should have put it in the title. I didn't. That was stupid. But go on, that link takes you to DraftKings. You start a new account there, minimum deposit of $5. 24 hours later, you will have been sent the Almanac. It's a pretty good deal. And so, DraftKings, great sponsor. They sponsor the podcast. We will run DraftKings contests all through the season where it's just us, podcast listeners, playing against me and playing against Josh and Mitch. And yeah, it's fun, really fun. Craig Clark will keep playing. So, DraftKings. I like DraftKings. Really fun. And plus, you can get the Almanac for $5 if you've never had a DraftKings account before. It's pretty damn good. All right. So, yay, DraftKings. Thank you to DraftKings. And really, seriously, do this. Get the Almanac. It's $5 there. Do that. That's a good thing. All right. Let's see. Len says, I'm fine with DraftKings plugs, Harris, but I live in New Orleans. Online sports betting is illegal in Louisiana, even in small amounts, just for fun. Yeah, I hear you. Delaney Walker or Greg Olsen, are they risky tight end ones? Well, they're risky. That is for certain. The thing is, if you're just going to wait forever and ever and take a tight end in the 14th round, then either one of those guys is fine. And then you'll wind up streaming tight ends because they'll probably annoy you, but that's okay. I don't mind that strategy at all. Christopher says, start watching any film yet? Any thoughts on preseason week 3? I did watch some, and it's so ridiculous. Now half the teams aren't playing their guys at all or for one series. It's just so useless. But I did watch 3 or 4 games last night. I thought Geis looked fine. I thought Andy Dalton actually looked pretty good, but who cares? But he's not playing with Mixon, right? Mixon's not playing. It's so useless. The whole exhibition season, man, heaven bless the people who judge their fantasy ranks by the preseason. Oh my God, did you see what Preston Williams looked like? Oh my God, really? I just can't do it. I don't know. Not so good. Bergman says, Geis looks stiff. I thought it looked okay. I mean, he didn't make anything big. He didn't do anything big, but I thought it looked all right. Jordan Reed sucks. Completely made of glass. Do not draft him. Okay. I can't read that. Kai Pai says, the Almanac is $5 question mark, question mark, question mark, only if you get it from DraftKings. Otherwise, it's $17. Go to any show that's been sponsored by DraftKings on this channel, click the link, go over to DraftKings, start a brand new account. Can't be an old account that you're funding again, it has to be a new account. And then within 5 days, within 24 hours, not 5 days, make a minimum deposit of $5, you'll get the almanac. All right. How much of that ranking is footy pajamas, says Philip. I don't even know who you're talking about. Sorry, Philip. Cooper says, I know he's a flag guy, but is Nyheim Hines anything more than an upside flex option? I got him and Mac somehow, and I'm having second thoughts. I think Nyheim Hines' ceiling is that he's Tariq Cohen, who was more than a flex option last year. I think his ceiling, the Brady ranking. No, I've talked a lot about the Brady ranking. We did, listen to the podcast, I've talked a lot about the Brady ranking. I think anybody who thinks that Brady is bad is wrong, and thinks that he's done is wrong. And the people who are giving you that information are telling you that you have to draft Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray as top 7 quarterbacks, and I disagree with that philosophy. As far as Nyheim Hines goes, no, I'm 100% with you that he's not going to replace Marlon Mack. But I think there's a world where the Colts offense is really good, and that he gets used a lot in his Nyheim Hines way, and he just breaks a lot of big plays that he didn't break last year. I've said this a million times, but it's crazy that Nyheim Hines never made a play over 28 yards last year. He touched it a lot. That dude is fast. He's a world-class sprinter. It's crazy, and I don't think it'll happen again this year. I don't need an increase in Nyheim Hines' touches for him to get to what Tariq Cohen did last year. I think he's going to make a bunch of long touchdowns this year, and it's going to be somewhat hit and miss because the workload's never going to be 20 touches in the game. I agree with you there, but I like that you own him. I think it's fine. Joey says, I hate it when old loyal customers get hosed. I know, this is DraftKings that's their deal. They're looking for that's the behavior they want to reward. I'm sorry about that, but that's what they want to reward. The Almanac is worth it every year, I get it. Thanks very much for that. Appreciate it. Let's see, Hawkinson will have his day, says Bo, and I saw somebody saying, is Hawkinson the truth? Just same with Noah Fant, although he's been injured, so now people aren't as high on him. It's just a very difficult position to play as a rookie. I'll tell you what. I mean, it's the reason why I didn't put Jace Sternberger. I put the other kid as the super deep sleeper for the Green Bay Packer tight end situation. It's such a tough, the last rookie contributor at tight end, it's like Jeremy Shockey. It's not. There's Gronk. Gronk is the one. And if he's not Gronk, if Hawkinson's Gronk right away, then I'm wrong. But it feels like I never want to really rely on a rookie tight end. It's such a hard position. Philip says, do you see a scenario where Breida gets the majority of touches over Coleman? It seems like the market is assuming Coleman is the lead guy. Thank you to my 20. There's a breakout guy for you, Matt Breida, relative to his value. He already broke out last year. Yeah, I don't understand it. I've said it on the podcast so many times that, don't understand Tevin Coleman's rank at all. Nathan says, any tips for drafting in a shallow 8-team league? So if you have 8 teams in a fantasy league, it is star ball, right? You're going to own only stars, and you're going to mostly have difficult lineup decisions. You're going to have lineup decisions that really bother you. And that stinks, but it's fun too, because you can look back and say, what a dummy I was. I should have started. I have both Miles Sanders and David Montgomery as my RB 4 and 5. Oh, I should have started one over the other. It's going to make you crazy. But it's star ball, so you're looking for upside. You don't need to worry about. There's always going to be a waiver wire guy who's okay. Nyheim Hines doesn't need to go in your draft. You're looking for upside guys who you can drop if they don't work out. That's what I would say. Mitch says, is Tyler Lockett actually capable of being a fantasy wide receiver 1? Sure, he's capable because he's really fast and can make a bunch of long touchdowns. He's capable in the way that Marvin Jones was the wide receiver 5 2 years ago. That's the same. Marvin Jones was a wide receiver 1. It seems weird. It was just 2 years ago. That seems even weirder. It seems like it was 100 years ago. But that's the way he's capable. It's less likely to happen than someone who's just dominant. Julio Jones is a lot likelier to lead the league in receiving yards than Tyler Lockett, right? But Lockett can score 13 touchdowns accidentally. He can also score 5 because sometimes it just doesn't work out. But that's where Lockett's upside comes from, just the sheer deep speed. Let me have a little sip of water. We got a half an hour left here. Aiden says, how do you feel about Hunter Henry? Very pro, very positive. I have him 4 among tight ends. I still don't get him that much because I don't tend to take tight end as high as the market tends to take them. But if I were to get him, I'd be pretty happy. And if you believe philosophically that tight ends should go higher than I do philosophically, then he's my tight end 4. Thoughts on Trey Burton? I've been targeting him as a late round tight end. Yeah, I think that's fine. Again, I'm going to wait on tight ends like you are. And so once I get down to the end, if Burton is there, I'll take him for sure. I have him ranked as my maybe like 11, I think, among tight ends. So that's fine with me. He's coming back from sports hernia surgery, and he hasn't done anything. He's not going to do anything in the exhibition season, and I don't care about that. I just don't know how healthy he is, so there's a little bit of nervousness there for week 1. But, yeah, I'd say I'm okay with it. Let's see. Let's see. Is Godwin a top 12 guy talent-wise? As Robitalia would say, what does the film say? No. Chris Godwin is not a top 12 guy talent-wise. He's just not. Maybe, at least he hasn't been to this point. From what I've seen on film, and I've watched a lot of Chris Godwin film, I like him, don't love him. The comparison that I've made on the podcast a lot, I talked about him as a bust on the YouTube channel. The comparison I make is like young Pierre Garçon. Good. That's good. Man, I wish I had that athletic ability. I would be rich. I would be an NFL player. That would be awesome. I live on a yacht, so I have no complaints. But no, I don't think Chris Godwin measures up to Mike Evans on his own team. I don't think he measures up to... I know a lot of people are like, but look at the spark. Look at the spark. Okay, I haven't seen it on film in an NFL game yet. I've seen good, not great. Good player. Top 30 receiver for me. I just think people who are like, no, otherworldly talent, I haven't agreed yet. How about Luke says, how about Allen Robinson? What are your thoughts? I think I mentioned him on the unbuzzed about list on the podcast. We nominated 5 players who've been not buzzed about at all. It feels like Allen Robinson has been one of those guys who just, there's no news about him. My thoughts are that last year was disappointing, for sure. I understand there's some concern about him because too many mouths to feed, which is an argument I never am okay with. I just don't look at too many mouths to feed and say, oh, that means you shouldn't draft the best of those mouths. Like, Allen Robinson is the best of those mouths, so I want to feed him. Like, I think they will feed him. I think Allen Robinson's getting 7 or 8 targets a game. And my thoughts are he's good. I am pro. It doesn't strike me that I'm super out of line with the market. ADP feels about right to me, but I am pro. Biff says, how about Alexander Madison? He's getting a lot of buzz as a rookie running back behind Dalvin Cook. So I think when we talked on the podcast about top handcuffs for running backs and how handcuffing in general has kind of gone out of fashion, it's not really the way of the world anymore. I did mention that probably the number 1 handcuff that I think is out there is Alex Madison. And I think he's good. I think he's he's different than Latavius Murray, but he's a big body like Latavius Murray. He can definitely take some of the between the tackles work away from Dalvin Cook to try to keep him healthy. And he's not quite as twitchy as Latavius Murray. Doesn't have that lateral, like, wow, interesting explosion there, good burst. He's much more just sort of a solid, reliable guy, a Jordan Howard type, who I think Dalvin Cook owners should be drafting. I don't believe in that much in handcuffing anymore with the way platoons are in the league now, and it might be a platoon, frankly. I don't think Madison is going to have a ton of standalone value, but the moment Dalvin Cook gets hurt, he's going to have a ton of value, so I think he's a handcuff. If Emmanuel Sanders were healthy, would you draft him? Yeah, or is he healthy? I mean, I don't know how healthy he is. He looked pretty good in that second exhibition game. He got a reverse. He looked like he was running at full speed. He looked like he was fast again. Hard to really tell for sure. I did in the almanac, this most recent almanac, bump Sanders ahead of Cortland Sutton. So if you look at my ranks, all the single position ranks that you guys have been putting out there are all answered on harrisfootball.com. So if I don't get to yours, don't get mad at me. There's 500 people watching this thing right now. Everybody's flinging a lot of questions all at once. But if you have a single position question, it's answered at harrisfootball.com, and you will see that Sanders is ahead of Sutton, and I have elevated him a bit. Okay. I feel like Sony Michel is an unbuzzed about player. That's not a bad call. It could be better than his rank. Thoughts on him, considering it's possible we haven't seen the real Sony? It is possible, and to be honest, I did watch the Carolina-New England game, and I thought Sony Michel showed some lateral quickness. I was like, okay, Sony Michel. I was ready to kind of be like, that's kind of good. Any Patriots receiver, running back, of course, is just subject to the whims of that week's game plan. It's always feels like, always. I mean, it's been like 2 years. LeGarrette Blount, like 3 years ago, got all the work, right? And we were happy with him. So, but 2 years is a long time in our lives, if not in our football time. It feels like you're just waiting for the James White game or the Rex Burkhead game or the Damian Harris game to get in your way and hurt you. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're going to get the full Sony Michel. Maybe they go, let's beat him like a rented mule. We've got Damian Harris if he gets hurt. He's really good. Let's have him be out there 80% of a running back snaps. If that's the case, we're really too low on him. He should be like an early second round consideration. So if you want to take the optimistic view, I get it. Christopher says, hit the X above the chat and then smash that like button. Smash it. Where's my camera? Smash that like button. Giant finger. I just gave you the giant finger. Chubb or Dalvin Cook. If only there were some kind of list that had all the players in the order in which I prefer them, then you could look it up yourself. HarrisFootball.com. You'll find all the ranks. I do have Chubb ahead of Cook. Jaws says, who is the wide receiver to own in Washington next year? I think you probably mean this year. I don't know about next year. So I still have Josh Doctson. I don't want to own any of them. Probably in a standard league, I'm not going to draft any of them. If it's like a 12-team, 16-player rosters, I don't really feel the need to own any of them, to be honest. I have Doctson the highest. I have Terry McLaurin the second highest. McLaurin made the super deep sleeper list. He strikes me he's more of a waiver ad type guy if things go really well in Washington, which they could. But I'm sort of it's hard to love anybody in that offense catching the ball for sure. Let me have another sip here. We have about a half an hour left. 90 minutes. Can I get a like? We're at 419 likes. I'd love to get to 435 likes. And then I've been here for an hour. We're at 426. I'd love to get to 435. I don't want to be too presumptuous, but we're at 430, 437. We did it. Nice finger, Harris. Let's see your trouser tabernacle. That was a very funny email. Hey, these are Mack Weldon Radius pants. I love these things. They are awesome. Hey, look at the zipper. Look at a little zipper there. I love the Mack Weldon Radius pants. Love. Is Ronald Jones as bad as everyone makes him out to be? Obviously, he had great college production, and that has turned into smoke. I think he still has speed compared to Barber. Does he have an RB2 ceiling? This is such a good question. I really love this question. I'll spend a second on Ronald Jones. I mean, everything anybody says about Ronald Jones as a pro is basically received wisdom. We don't know. He didn't play. I watched every snap that he did last year with Tampa during the regular season. We know who the real hero is. It took about 7 minutes. It just wasn't very many plays. He didn't look like he was an amazing player, but he didn't look like he was also, adjectival. He didn't look like he was tripping over his schwanz, He looked like there's obviously something going on that we can't know about that everybody kind of just assumes as a result of him not playing. But when a person just flat out doesn't play and he's a second round pick, you go, man, he can't learn the playbook. He can't learn how to pass protect. He can't figure out where he's supposed to run. Something's just mentally wrong or something. I don't know what. Emotionally wrong. I don't know. I hate to speculate. So, of course, was he a good player at USC? He was. Did he remind me of Jamal Charles? He did. And now it's I guess he has upside, but until I see it, boy, I don't know. I mean, are they going to use him? I don't know. I don't have any way of knowing. Very hard. I don't mind stashing him. Very hard for me to feel confident about it at this point when he just didn't play. Vinko says, which tight ends do you prefer in late rounds? Okay, so I find myself that in the I don't know, 7th or 8th, I get Njoku. That's not really the late rounds, that's more the mid rounds. But I just feel like I like Njoku. It turns out that I like Njoku. A lot of other tight ends go. Vance McDonald is going before, which not an outrage, but so I wind up with him. If I wait, Kyle, I was going to say, we said it before, Trey Burton. I've wound up with Trey Burton very late. I'll do Kyle Rudolph. Because I go, all right, it's safe for week 1. I know I'm going to get 50 yards and maybe I'll get a touchdown. Kyle Rudolph's totally unexciting, but I mean, he's had a major touchdown season in the past. It's funny, the 1 year Kyle Rudolph had the huge touchdown season, I still worked at ESPN. I came in the next year. I'll never forget it. I was in studio doing SportsCenter or something, and someone like threw one of the other ESPN personalities, fantasy personalities, words in my face, you can guess who, about how he had been talking with Norv Turner, and Kyle Rudolph was probably going to top next year's touchdown total, so he was a tight end 4 or something. And I remember being on set at SportsCenter live and having my jaw just go, like, what are we talking about here? So someone in the fantasy group went and had like a combine interview with Norv Turner for 30 seconds, asked about Kyle Rudolph. Norv Turner goes, yeah, sure, Kyle Rudolph, great. Probably going to score 104 touchdowns this year. And then we decided to make him the tight end 4. Like, this is the distillation. Feed it into my veins. This is a distillation of everything I stand against. I don't remember what I said on the SportsCenter hit, but it's funny how the market then just, now he doesn't score touchdowns the next year, and now Kyle Rudolph is crap and doesn't belong in anybody's team, whatever. Like, Kyle Rudolph is fine. He's just unexciting. He doesn't have a huge ceiling unless he goes crazy with the touchdown season. It's probably a 600-yard, 6-touchdown season, which is fine. Okay, that was a long answer. Can you try to explain the Jaguars wide receiver situation? Who's the top dog, if there's anybody? So, D.D. Westbrook has been my favorite all along. He's been a favorite of mine since he came in the league, and I certainly would draft him above anybody else. I'm not sure I have any Jags receivers even rated, with Marquise Lee still injured. I don't really think I do. So, if you're going to draft anyone in the standard league, it would be D.D. It seems like he's now getting so much buzz that I want to be careful that the price doesn't get too crazy on him, because I just don't know that I trust anybody in that pass offense to be the locus of something great, given that D.D. Westbrook is a very good player, but if you're going to use him entirely as the slot, is he like bad Jarvis Landry, production-wise? And then all the outside receivers just feels like could kind of steal from one another. So it doesn't feel, I don't know enough about the talent of everybody else. Like Keelan Cole just was never my guy last summer when everybody wanted Keelan Cole, and I was like, take D.D. I agree. Somebody just said Marquise Lee is good when healthy. I had Marquise Lee as a fun sleeper, like let's take him in all drafts and just stash him. But boy, I mean, if you have the knee surgery and then a year later you still can't run, hard for me to stash him. He strikes me as more of a waiver guy, but I'm 100% with you. I think people doubt Marquise Lee's ability too much when he's healthy. I agree. Good question by James. How do your ranks change if it's 3 receivers versus two receivers to start? I almost feel like I play in so many leagues now that there are 3 receivers. I may have sort of inadvertently on the podcast said, now that 3 receivers are standard, and everyone was like, no, they're not. I don't play in 3 receivers. I use default settings on Yahoo. It's not 3. But I think it's fine to adjust your board and say wide receiver is just a little bit more scarce. I wouldn't want to go crazy, though, because the reason you're going to 3 wide receivers is that there's so many wide receivers. There's 50 wide receiver 3s in the league right now. Guys who can win you a week, 1 week, and then just disappear the next, right? So I don't want to go too crazy, but I think especially at the top, if you go, I'm just personally not in love with Le'Veon Bell. I think it's too much risk. I'd rather take DeAndre Hopkins. And you look at my ranks, and you see Bell ahead of Hopkins by a little bit, and you go, you know what, it's a 3-receiver league. I think receivers going to get a little more scarce at the back end. I'd rather take Hopkins. That's the kind of adjustment I'd rather do. Young Lloyd says, David Montgomery is a beast, and no question, just a statement of fact. And he may be. Calvin Ridley or AJ Green? I think I have Green. Who do I have higher? That's close. I'm looking at my own ranks. I have AJ Green 56 in standard. I have Calvin Ridley 59 in standard. If you felt strongly that it should be Ridley, I would not disagree. But if I'm looking at my ranks to answer that question, you could look at them. HarrisFootball.com. Let's see. Alex says, would you rather take a player who you're low on at a discount or reach for a player you like? For example, Tevin Coleman, who maybe lasts a little longer than you expect him to, or Dion Lewis, who you are going to reach to get because you're worried someone's going to steal him from you. I mean, it probably really depends on the player, but I think my objection to Tevin Coleman is not that like he stinks. I don't think he's great, but I mean he's going to have an okay year. He's going to touch the ball some. I just think he's not going to touch it as much as his benefactors think he will. So if you're telling me, if we take the ADP out of the Tevin Coleman conversation, and now he's a 7th round pick instead of a 4th or a 5th round pick, I feel really good about taking him, and I'd probably be more excited about taking him than taking somebody whose upside like Deion Lewis probably isn't as a running back 1. It really is kind of all about the where you have to take him, the value of it. Let's see, is Justin Jackson a better value in drafts than Austin Eckler right now, assuming the Melvin Gordon holdout continues? Very, very good question. I think if I take Eckler, I'm going to take Jackson. I'll put it that way. I think probably you're right that there's this market-wide presumption that Eckler deserves to be taken way, way, way ahead of Justin Jackson, and frankly, I have him ranked that way too. And the reason I do is because Eckler, multi-year history of being pretty good. Pretty good player, he's fine. Don't really think he's like a starting NFL running back over the course of his life. This might be his only chance, but he's fine. Justin Jackson strikes me as an Eckler-esque player. Maybe a little more power, but I don't really know. I think they're so similar in terms of players. But given that the fact that they're so similar, who's to say that the Chargers might not just go, you know what, we're going to give this Justin Jackson guy as much of a look as we do Eckler, and we'll just see how it works out. So value-wise, I can see it. If we can convince ourselves they're almost maybe equal footing, even though I kind of don't think they are. Eckler sort of been on the team a lot longer, more kind of a feeling like a little more stable part of the team. But if we can convince ourselves they're close, then I think Jackson as a late round gambit is just fine. Okay, so we have a call to get the stream to 500 likes. Can we get the stream to 500 likes? We're at 461. I'm not going to hold you hostage here, but let's hit the like button if you haven't already. You might even say, let's smash the like button. You might even say, please, please, please smash the like button. We're at 469 right now. We're moving it up. We're at 477. We're getting close to 500. I would love it. Jose says, pay me. I love it. 483. We're 485. Mahomes 2 quarterback rank. I think he's 15 for me. 15 for me in a 2 quarterback rank, I believe. Please, please, please smash that like button. 491. Punch the like button in the mouth, says Bill. 492. 491. Oh, somebody unliked it. It went from 491 to 492, and then they were like, no, 491. Now it's up to 493. 494. Jose says, just kidding, I like. Brett says, my screen shows 243. I show 495. A possum wants 525. That's what Dan says. Dan says the possum wants 498. We're gonna reach it. 502. We did it. We all did it together. That's the thing, is we all did it together. All together we did it. Together we did it. Miles Sanders or David Montgomery in a PPR. If only there were some sort of page where I could tell you that Miles Sanders is 1 spot ahead of David Montgomery in my PPR ranks. 1 spot. And Miles Sanders is cheaper, so I think he's better draft day value. That's a nice skyline, says Betty. I know, it really is. I've got the curtains are down, so I'm masking it a little bit, but it's Los Angeles. It is a yacht. What building is behind you? That is the U.S. Bank building, the one that looks like a circular tower. I think in Independence Day that was blown up, I believe. Long ago movie, Independence Day. Now it's called the U.S. Bank Tower. Good question from Jorge. Thoughts on Darren Waller as a sleeper tight end? I mean, he's certainly gotten some run in Hard Knocks, right? For sure. He's gotten some run in Hard Knocks. People like the recovery story because he was an addict, and now he's clean. Hopefully he stays clean. So for me, I go probably not a standard league draft pick, unless it's a super deep bench. I probably don't need to feel it, but I'll, if I'm going to stream tight ends, I'll certainly be watching. He came into the league as a wide receiver, put on a bunch of weight, got popped for PEDs, started taking much, much worse than PEDs apparently, opiates and stuff, and wanted to get caught, he says, on Hard Knocks, and got caught, and now is kind of still learning the position, but he's got a lot of raw athletic ability for sure. Okay, let's keep going here. We got 15 minutes left. What? Only 15 minutes? Can we get your take on the Ravens wide receiver core? I would love to offer you my take. I mean, again, Miles Boykin, it feels to me, sort of has now gotten so much love that the echo chamber has picked up on the love, and so it just it reverberates its own love. I don't know that I feel like Miles Boykin needs to be drafted in standard leagues, but I probably don't know that any of them. I have Marquise Brown higher than Miles Boykin still in my ranks, but now he's lowered as well. So, for me, bottom line is I just don't feel like you need to draft it. Willie Snead probably leads them in receiving this year, and it's just annoying, right? I don't want to own Willie Snead. That's never a good strategy. But it feels like it's going to be, or it'll be Mark Andrews, or it'll be Hayden Hurst, or it'll be Mark Ingram, or it'll be Justice Hill. The receiving core they're trying to build with Boykin and Marquise Brown, you can see the vision of how that works in the future, but it's hard for me to go, and that means they all know how to get open right away. As much as they're both athletic freaks in different ways, as much as they're both very interesting in Dynasty, in redraft leagues, tough for me to be all in or really in at all. Feel like much more like waiver ads to me than, somebody said break my phone. Father Roblox says break your phone, please. Okay. No, I'm not going to do that. DK Metcalf season breakout. Well, the knee surgery makes me feel less so, but I guess they're saying he's still a chance he plays week 1, and I don't know, I'm somewhat dubious about that. Sure, maybe, it's possible. Philip says, he uses a scooch, no broken phones. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even read trolley comments out. I don't know why I do that. Cousin Josh says, boom bust players give him a heart attack. When you put your roster together, how many Deshaun Jackson types do you typically include? So there's kind of different kinds of boom bust. Like Deshaun Jackson is one kind of boom bust, and then Todd Gurley is another kind of boom bust, right? And I'm much more interested in taking the risk on the player who, if everything works out, is going to be awesome, as opposed to the player who is just going to have 5 weeks of amazing production and 10 weeks of crap production. It strikes me as different kinds of boom bust. The latter kind, the Deshaun Jackson kind, I'm not all that interested in unless I'm getting him real late and it's much more of a, let's see if he can turn himself into not a boom bust player. That would be interesting. But I am interested in finding where the market is low on players just because they're nervous and taking a risk here or there. I don't love doing it like multiple times in the same team. So if I take Todd Gurley, maybe I'm not that excited to take Andrew Luck unless I'm getting him really late. But one per team, I'm interested in taking a shot. I'm much more risk embracing than the market tends to be. So I feel like, I feel like I can save a team that messes up one dude who turned out to be more injured than I thought, or whatever, or more likely to get suspended than I thought. I can do that with trades. I can do that with drafting well later in the draft. I can win that way. It's hard to win with Deshaun Jackson as a key part of your team, that kind of player. Is Goff a top 5 quarterback this year with 3 healthy receivers? He could be. I think he has that kind of upside, but it wouldn't be where I'd take him because, things change in the NFL. It feels like it never could change, but Goff didn't play well in the Super Bowl and kind of revealed that he is a little bit of a robot. He's like better Kirk Cousins. He's a little bit he has to be on script. He has to be on program. Will defenses do a better job of getting him off script and off program? They're sure going to try. They're going to watch that Patriot Super Bowl film, and they're going to try to throw the Rams more curveballs and put more pressure on Jared Goff and make him prove that he can beat them. He wasn't terrible under pressure during the year last year, but he wasn't great the way Kirk Cousins isn't great. And we'll see. We'll see if that maybe means that the Rams offense generally isn't quite such a wagon. It's pretty rare that a team turns that good and then sucks the next year, but it's also pretty rare that a team is that good forever. So, we'll see. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins with a potentially run-heavy situation? Seems like you're higher on the market as a late-round option. Yeah, again, your question actually says it all, which is we don't know the situations. We don't know if it's a run-heavy situation. It strikes me that whatever the offense was in Minnesota last year will probably be about what it is this year. I know the offensive coordinator supposedly got fired last year for not running it enough. Throwing it too much. I don't really even believe that's true. They threw it plenty last year. They ran it plenty last year. They basically feel like the mix is going to be what the mix is. The team sort of is what the team's going to be. I don't imagine Kirk Cousins turns into a 22 attempts per game kind of guy. It feels to me like 2 really good receivers. He himself is fine. I feel okay about Kirk Cousins. I recognize, though, that there are just people out there who say, no, I want the running quarterbacks. If I'm going to take a late-round quarterback and he's still there, I'm taking Josh Allen over Kirk Cousins. I understand that philosophy. I get it. Zach says, should I be panicking about James Conner? I don't know that why you'd panic necessarily, other than to say, I mean, I had him, I guess because I had him on the bust list, right? So I have him on the bust list because I didn't love him as a first-round pick. It's much more about value. I think that he's a first-round pick mostly, like 75%, because the situation, people just say, hey, Steelers running back, he's a first-round pick. I think 25% though is because he's a big dude who should be able to crash in a bunch of touchdowns and an offense that hopefully gets him inside the 5-yard line a bunch. And if that's the case, then he can be a first-round or certainly at least a second-round pick. I wouldn't say panic. I would say I don't love him as a first-round pick, but like mid-second, I like him fine. Is Devontae Freeman worth the risk? A good example of a player that I think is worth the risk. I don't want a million guys like him, but and plus I don't really think the ADP is that off on him, I guess I would say, but you know, when he's right, maybe he'll never be right again because he's that Steve Slayton body type. Once you the seal is broken on the injury and you're a little dude and you know there's only so much pounding you can take, I guess that could happen. There is definitely a risk, but if he's right, I mean, we've seen him be RB5 better, right? So he has a lot of upside for sure. Philip says, thoughts on Philip Lindsay as a 5th-round potential pick. Do the tiny bones worry you? It's funny how many people have come on the show lately and said that they're worried about Philip Lindsay and they think he's being drafted too high. It feels to me like he's about right. I think he's just a way better player than Royce Freeman. And, you know, tiny bones worry me a lot more with Christian McCaffrey in the 1st than Philip Lindsay in the 6th or whatever, which is, I think that's what his thing is. So I'm okay with it, actually. Will Zeke sign soon? Ugh, I wish I knew. Nobody knows. It would be lovely to know. Will, thoughts on Royce Freeman? Yeah, I mean, I think he's like Eddie Lacy, later Eddie Lacy. I think he's okay. He's just a guy. I don't think he's great. And therefore, I think he'll probably play. But if I were running the Broncos, I would, if I thought, you know, I would be playing Philip Lindsay a lot. I think he's a very fast and very quick player who probably will wear down because he's very, very little. But for as long as he's okay, I think I'd use him. What do you mean by flag player, says Bill? Yeah, it became a thing that I did at ESPN more than like 10 years ago, where rather, you know, the people at ESPN would put out a list of like, here's 100 players that I like. And it becomes pretty easy for you to claim that you got a lot of things right on that list when it's like 100 players, right? Oh, don't you know, I like that guy. Well, it's like a defense mechanism to say, well, yeah, but 50 of the guys you picked didn't work out. So in counter-programming to that, I said, I'm going to pick 10, and I'm going to plant a flag on them and say, I'm planting my flag that this guy is going to be good this year. And for whatever reason, it's just sort of, it sounds almost like flag means I'm flagging them because they're dangerous. So it's an unfortunately named thing. I definitely understand your question. But in fact, what I mean is, it's a good thing. It means I'm planting a flag in a good way. How can I tell who is who on your site? I don't know what that means, Bill. Josh Gordon, what is a good round to draft him in? So I have Gordon, I have an aggressive rank on Josh Gordon, I do. I have him, where is he? Where are you, Josh Gordon? Somewhere. Let's see, I'll just find Gordon on my computer, how's that? I have him 55 standard, 53 PPR, so I guess I'm telling you 5th round. Clearly that is major risk embracing. You know, often I'm telling you about risky guys that I like. I'm not telling you to take all of them on the same team, but I did a video on Josh Gordon on the YouTube channel, so you can check it out there, like last Saturday, a week ago today, so you can check that out. So yeah, I mean, I'm taking a shot on Josh Gordon. Ra says, have you ever seen a player break out in their 6th season to become a fantasy stud? I mean, not usually. Brandon Lloyd, wasn't that one of them? Brandon Lloyd breaking out late. It happens every so often. You're right, it doesn't happen very often. In a dynasty rookie draft, should I take Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins? It's funny, that answer is not as crazy as it was, right? I still think Haskins, but I get it. Haskins hasn't had by all accounts, hasn't had the kind of sharp. Maybe Daniel Jones was a good pick after all. Anthony says, Godwin over Diggs. Am I crazy? Yeah, I like Diggs more, but I don't know. I can't see the future. Could Curtis Samuel get work in the Carolina backfield if they want to reduce McCaffrey's touches? Because you're right, he played some running back at Ohio State. It sounds like that's probably not what they're going to do. Although, I mean, last year, rewatching DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel film, never a game would go by where both of them wouldn't get at least one handoff. Usually it would be something along the lines of a jet sweep. It's probably not going to be, like if they lined up, it's usually some kind of gadget play. It's probably not going to be like run between the tackles. But you're probably going to get a couple of carries out of DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel every single week. I do not understand how LeGarrette Blount can be considered a first rounder, but Sony Michel not. I'm so mad, says this poster. So I think you do understand. I mean, what you understand is that Sony Michel has a knee problem and didn't look great last year and didn't produce like an RB1 last year, and then needs a knee scope in the offseason after having a knee scope in the summer last year during training camp. I think people are just worried about risk. And also, James White being there and them liking apparently Damian Harris in some ways. I'm not that worried about that. But here's the thing. If you think Sony Michel, if you think any player should be a first-round pick, awesome that he's not, right? You should be super excited because you can get him a first-round pick in the third round. You should be celebrating. Don't be angry. Angel says, I picked up Jacobs early because of hype. I'm having second thoughts. Should I worry? I mean, he was another unbuzzed about player. I don't feel like there's been any news where you should worry. He refuses to be on camera on Hard Knocks. I think you should be just fine. You should be just fine. Is Corey Davis droppable? No, don't drop him yet. Why is Larry Fitzgerald severely underrated? I recently 7th round PPR, which is bonkers to me. The why is that the market is entirely about shiny new objects and deciding that Darwin Thompson is a 5th round pick or whatever. The market is dumb. The market, and a lot of fantasy football analysts, I'm not calling them dumb, but they fall prey to the hype. They listen to the beat reports and they get excited and they change their ranks, and Larry Fitzgerald's is never going to be the one that gathers lots and lots of hype. So there is an X% chance that he's just cooked, but I don't think so. I mean, someone came on, was it Heath, who came on the show last week and said, Larry Fitzgerald's the best receiver in Arizona. What are we even talking about? Maybe it was Carabell, right? I'm with you. Good value. Never get mad about getting good value. All right, so I got a couple of minutes left. I'm gonna bang right through this here. But if you haven't liked the video, please like it right now. I got 3 minutes to get to 90 minutes, and my voice needs a little rest. Lindsay asked, is Harris After Dark coming back this season? It's not, unfortunately. Just not enough people listened. It was really, really fun, but the YouTube show is like kind of taking my extra time now, so there you go. Alex says, can you talk a little bit about auctions? I can. They're really fun. What I would recommend is with Scott Pianowski, I did a podcast devoted to auctions like 2 weeks ago, so go listen to that podcast. It was really good. Lots and lots of advice. That's what I recommend. Birdman says, do you still have a Patreon? I do. Go to harrisfootball.com/listeners, I believe. You'll find it. How many likes do you have? I have 525. Is Nick Chubb a first rounder, says Jose? And I say no, but if Kareem Hunt weren't there, I would probably say yes, because I like him a lot. How do you think the Eagles, well, I missed it. How do you think the Eagles' backfield will shake out this year? I think it'll probably be some kind of a mix. I prefer Miles Sanders. How does Frank Ragnow getting hurt impact Kerryon Johnson? I'm sure it's not good. I'm not smart enough to draw a direct line enough to say, and now he's 5 spots lower. Like, I'm probably just going to leave him where I have him. Anything on Darwin Thompson? I've done a lot on Darwin Thompson. Thoughts on a Marquez Valdez-Scantling breakout? I just don't know that there's a lot of difference between him and Geronimo Allison, and now there's not an Equanimous St. Brown for a while, but they all seem like similar players to me. I kind of don't see a breakout for any of them. Jose, Sterling Shepard or Evan Engram in the Giants offense, would you rather put hot sauce in your eye? I like Shepard. I mean, Engram's fine too, but I tend not to get him. I tend to get Shepard though. I'm a little higher on Shepard than the market. So yeah, I'm in the tank for Sterling Shepard. He almost made the flag list again. Jimmy Graham breakout? I don't think so. Is Sterling Shepard worth drafting? I like it. Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco? Sure. Will you and Brett Coleman collaborate on one more podcast before the season starts? Probably not. Brett is in demand, but he certainly will be on the show as we go along. Robert says, I draft David Njoku. I draft another tight end just in case. You don't have to, I don't think. Let's see. What is yours? Yeah. I'm trying not to read. filthy ones. For a standard 6-touchdown passing league, does Mahomes another move up? Not really. I mean, if he throws 50 again, he should, but I don't think he'll throw 50 again. It's just really hard to do. Feels like the rising tide that lifts all boats. That's what I always say about 6 points per tight end. What do you think about Mark Andrews? I think he's being overrated by people who call him like the tight end 11. I think Hayden Hurst will be heard from. I had like an argument about that with Brandon and Brad on their podcast, and in the end I'm like, what are we arguing about? I don't care. I don't care about your number 11 tight end or your number 14 tight end. I don't care. Like, I'll just stream. I'm good. Ebron being slept on. He's gonna feast again. Maybe. I'm not a huge fan of him as a player. I have reached 90 minutes. Thank you very much. It was fun. Good luck with your drafts. We'll do another live stream probably before Labor Day weekend. We'll try to do more. Thank you very much. If you were interested in the Almanac for $5, pretty soon there's going to be a link on this video, but there are lots of DraftKings sponsored videos on this channel. Find one of them. Click the link. Make a new deposit, a brand new account on DraftKings, and minimum $5 deposit within 24 hours. You will get that Almanac. That's $5 compared to $17. That's a good deal. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you on the podcast on Monday. See ya, see ya, see ya.